35192. Want to send me a text? AlanCoxShow.com to watch. Guardians off tonight. They will host the Baltimore Orioles tomorrow night. There are 3 6:10 games tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, so keep that in mind. And you'll hear all of them here on WMMS, of course, and on the iHeartRadio app to boot. If you listen to the show on the app from out of state, tell me where. I got a letter from Jamie, who for a long time was the only black girl in Plymouth, Indiana. And she was updating me on her whereabouts, even though she has moved a couple of times since. But she was, she called herself very irresponsible for her bureau chief that she hadn't updated her location with me. She left Plymouth, Indiana, lived in Fort Lauderdale for a little while, and now she's in Mansfield, Texas. So Jamie is outside Arlington there. Ken listens in Pittsburgh. John's in Hermitage, PA. Mark's in Cape Coral, Florida. Greg's up in Temagami, Ontario. You can listen to the iHeartRadio app all throughout North America. We don't have any bureau chiefs yet in Mexico. If you find yourself on the run and need to go at any point south of the border, just make sure you check in. I'll mark you down as a temporary bureau chief before you get all of your stuff straightened out with the federales. Okay, so before the break, you mentioned this video that you sent me. There's people talking about their insane car payments.
Yeah.
And I've got questions.
So this one was a part 2 because they did another one. This is a car dealership in Surprise, Arizona.
Okay. Yeah, they're all working at a car dealership.
Yeah. And they walk around and they go, tell us your car payment. And they'll be like, oh, I got 2. And then they say the numbers. And yeah, if you play it, we'll just go through it.
Okay. Let me move it over to the big screen here. Should I do that?
Yeah.
Want to watch these people? Okay. Here we go.
What is your car payment?
Mine is $1,325.
And what kind of vehicle is that?
It's a 22 Ford Raptor.
Okay. You have another payment?
I do actually. My wife's, hers is $1,000. It's a 22 Ford Expedition.
Perfect. Hey, ma'am. What is your car payment?
$1,386.
And what kind of car requires a $1,386 payment?
A 2022 Grand Wagoneer Series 3.
Perfect. Hey, sir, what is your car payment?
I got a couple of them, but the first one's $1,445.
What kind of car is that?
That's a new GMC Sierra 2500 Denali.
What's the other one?
It's a wide body CTSV. That's $1,161.
Nice payment. Hey, sir, what is your
So
car
I guess it's the sales manager who's asking people these questions, and then the last guy comes in and turns the camera
What's
around.
your car payment? And what kind of car are you driving?
Honestly, I was about to make my car payment. I'll even show you. It's kind of funny. Everybody's talking about high payments. Look at that number right there. That's my car payment.
$1,516 is that guy's car payment.
These are mortgage payments, man.
That's more than mortgage.
He's still got the he's still got like the ticket book he's paying out of. So I'm curious, what is this supposed to be? Is this is this supposed to be? Because I'll tell you what, I did some work and did the breakdown on this. Did you do the breakdown on this?
I did not do the breakdown on this.
I took a couple of minutes to do the breakdown on this. They all work at a car dealership. It's
you switch the camera back over.
I'm sorry?
Okay, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So I was curious about whether or not they were trying to make this video to show people that their car payments aren't as high as some other people's. Because, let me find my thing here. Here's the breakdown on the cars these people describe. These are all very expensive cars.
And all of them were 2022, right?
Well,
or most of them?
So that's what I wrote back to Bill yesterday. I was like, do they all have a credit score of 78?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so the first guy pays $1,325 a month. He says, I have a 2022 Ford Raptor. That's a $72,000 pickup truck.
Why do you need Sorry, go ahead.
Well, but this is what I'm saying though.
Why do you have to have a
I'm
new
surprised.
car?
I'm surprised that you don't. And people who buy cars will tell you not to buy new. Nevertheless, some people want a new car. That's totally fine. These people can clearly afford it. I thought maybe all working at a car dealership, because people at car dealerships usually want to drive around in new cars. They don't want to drive around some beater. But it's also not in your best interest to be like, I work at a car dealership, and look how crazy expensive cars are.
Right.
So that's why I was confused.
That's why I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused about that too, because I thought they would be like, hey, you can get in these new cars, and you're not gonna have to pay $1,500 a month to get into these if you have the right credit, money down, stuff like that.
First dude,
that's so expensive.
First dude has a Ford Raptor, and his wife pays $1,000 a month, so it's $1,425 between the two of them. She has a 2022 brand new Ford Expedition.
And I understand
big too.
these
That's
are like $60,000 cars. Yeah.
Okay, so then they go to the girl, single girl maybe, right? Her car payment's $1,386. They say, "What do you drive?" She says, "I drive a 2022 Grand Wagoneer Series 3." That's a $107,000 car. Now, I'm just going by what Google told me. So if you're in the car biz and you go, that's crazy, I don't care about that, and I'll take your word for it. But if I Googled these cars, and that's what came up. So the next guy goes, $1,445 is the next guy's monthly car payment. He goes, I drive a 22 Sierra Denali. It's a $70,000 car. And my wife drives a wide-body CTSV. That's a Cadillac. That's an $87,000 car.
Yeah.
And her car payment's $1,161.
That makes sense, though.
That's why I was confused, because I go, you probably don't have amazing credit. Maybe you do. But even if you're getting an $87,000, the last guy, 22 wide-body Hellcat, it's a $90,000 car. So it's like, you're going to have those kinds of car payments, because most people are like, I mean, when my credit was awful, I was paying $500 a month for a used Camry.
Yeah, dude.
So you know this, so like, I'm sure we all do. So for like a brand new car, you're paying $1,000 a month on an Expedition. I go, yeah. That's why I was so confused by that video. I wasn't sure what the point they were trying to get across was.
It just seems
those are
so much money.
I think those are objectively high car payments. Yeah. But if you're driving a $107,000 Grand Wagoneer Series 3, you go, $1,386 sounds low to me.
I know, but at that point, like when you go, I don't think I need the 2022. I'll take the 2018.
That's why I think these people got some dealership mojo going on. Because there's no way a single girl would go, I want to pay $1,300 a month for my car. Yeah. There's just no way.
My car that I just paid off, between my car payment and my insurance every month, it was almost $600 for a 2017 Kia Forte that I bought used. Okay, so my payment was, I paid $186 every 2 weeks. So what's that? $370, and then another $180 in insurance, because that's how bad my driving record and credit was. So I mean, you're talking about, like I said, over $500, $600 a month for my car. Like, that's not. So when you say that, doesn't seem that crazy to me.
Yeah, but those are.
I could see it happening easily. If I wanted to buy a new car, that's what my payment would be.
But you would. I don't think you would go and do that though.
No, but I mean,
that's more of what I'm surprised by, is that people are willing to have that high of a payment when I don't think your car is that, like,
it's important to some people. It's a status symbol.
But that's the thing. Is like, I've
status
never
symbol of being broke. Everybody's going in your car.
I've never been the status symbol. Like, I never see someone's car and think, oh, they must be doing well. I go, oh, I think they're overcompensating for something.
I have seen
a lot of the time.
I have seen some people where they have a brand new car, probably a $50,000, $60,000 car, and their house is trifling. Like that's
what I'm saying.
Power wash, shingles hanging off.
But that's what we're saying,
dirty.
right? But what you're talking about is somebody just putting their money into their car. They clearly can't afford that car, but it is more important to them than the house. But
there are a lot of people like that. I feel like most people would rather. I would bet money, like if we took a poll, more people would be like, oh, I'm more single people or just married with no kids. They would much rather have a nice car, because you see that more than people coming to their house. Or if people who do come to their house, they already understand what it is. They're not putting on a show for their friends coming to their home.
Understood, but you spend more time in your house than your car.
Depending on what you do.
I was gonna say, not
it's probably
always.
pretty even for me. like a few years ago when I was driving to all of my gigs. That's how I justified spending as much money on my rent as I was on my car. Because I was like, honestly, my garden apartment was $580 a month. So I was paying the same amount for my car every month that I was paying for my apartment. So I was like, you know what, though? I spend the same amount of time, if not more time in my car.
So I'm hearing from people now. They probably all trade in their cars every year or so and have to add on what they still owed on their previous car. Now, that is a possibility. All I'm saying is if these people work at dealerships, you'd think they would know, or at least have access to, the information that would keep them away from $1,300 a month car payments. Alan, if my company didn't pay for my car, I couldn't afford it. It's $1,150 a month. That's why I'm still driving a 98 Neon. Right. I mean, hang on to your car.
I mean, that's why, yeah. And if you want to keep your car running, Terry's North Coast Auto will keep it going.
They do a great job. I go there too.
I guarantee he sent me this video just to shoehorn that in.
No,
he's like,
I wanted to
this will be a
shoehorn it
perfect
in.
entree into.
If I wanted to shoehorn it in, I'd talk about me having to take my daughter's car there, and they're taking care of that. But
Alan, I repo cars, and a woman had a 2010 Ford 150, and her payment was $510 a month.
That's what I mean. Like, that's people like me that for a long time,
you
my
walk
credit
out, and
was
your car's
such
not
trash.
there because they towed it. And maybe people did short loans, or who knows? I mean, the money just can be worked so many different ways, and that's why I genuinely wasn't clear of the point they were trying to get across.
Well, when go ahead.
I just have a question. I guess, Mary, you can actually answer this. When you have bad credit, and I guess bad is subjective, how long does it take to build that up to get yourself out of that hole?
I don't think bad is subjective. I think they tell you when it's bad.
Yeah, they tell you when it's bad.
Okay, well, bad credit, how long does it take you to get into a decent – because that's like the key right there, is to have decent credit so where you don't have to pay – because it's a system. If you have bad credit and your payment is, crazy, then, yeah, you're going to continue to have bad credit because no one can make a $500-$600 payment. If that was the case, then you would have just paid your bills in the first place.
So when I bought my first car, I screwed up my credit the day I turned 18. I worked at the mall, and I went and took out a bunch of credit cards. I racked
a bunch of credit
like
cards.
4 or 5. Like every place I could get approved for a credit card, I would, because my dad's sound financial advice was, you don't have to pay credit cards back. So at 18 years old, I took one out at American Eagle. I took one out at Dillard's, at Macy's, at the jewelry store at the mall.
Oh, you got store cards.
I got department store credit cards.
So not credit cards, charge cards for the store.
Whatever.
Like when you go, I'm just
they
saying,
had
like
Visa logos.
I know. But what I'm saying is, like when you go to college, they see you coming, boy, and they got all the tables set up. Visa and Amex. I had an Amex canceled in college because I didn't. But
So I jacked my credit up the day I turned 18.
Now, why did your dad say you don't have to pay credit cards back?
Because that was what he did.
But you'll max them out, and then they'll be useless.
Doesn't matter. That's free money. If you get approved for $500, it's $500 you can go spend at Dillard's, and you never have to pay it back. And this was legitimately, when people get on my ass about financial stuff,
I understand what you're saying.
I was told.
But there was a thing in your dad's brain. I know what he was doing, but there was clearly a thing as an adult in your dad's brain that was like, I have this now, but it will ruin everything else down the line. He was
also a severe gambling addict, so I don't think he cared.
But how did he ever have money to gamble? Well, I know you said he blew away his paychecks.
Anything the minute he got a paycheck, he would take it to the casino or the track, and then he also maxed out every credit card he ever got approved for.
Because you would buy things.
But how was he getting approved for credit cards?
My stepmom was co-signing for him. She was enabling
and then
the
ruining her credit in the process.
I guess.
And then I think what he would do is, or not him, but I know there's people that will do this. They'll buy things that they know they can resell
and make more
and make cash off it. I don't know if he's doing that, but there's people that when they get approved for a credit card, they'll max them out buying a bunch of stuff. They'll resell it. Then they'll have cash in hand.
Yeah.
And then they go.
He was more of the cash advance places. He had loans at every single cash advance place you could go to, and those
are 400% interest.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And
how do you live like that?
You don't care. You're an addict.
But he had a family.
He doesn't care. He's an addict. Addicts, when you have an addiction to that level, Nothing else matters. You do realize I grew up in a hoarder house that never had
so how do
lights
you-
on.
I understand.
How do you get out of that?
We didn't have lights. We didn't have our gas didn't work. Our water wouldn't run. Like
Okay.
How did you
that's
get
how.
out? How
I
did
knew
he
you.
ever get out of
You've
that
always
debt?
said you guys never had any money, but
We never had anything.
I didn't know you guys were living in.
Swaller.
If I may, Poundcake, Hooverville.
Yeah, we were living in Hooverville. So my point, what I was saying was, when I bought my first car, in 2014, I bought my first car. My credit score was 420, and
Nice.
I know, right? So over the last 8 years, what I've done is I have never missed a payment. So every car payment I've ever made has been on time. And then when I moved out on my own, putting my cable, that helps your credit. So getting things like bills in your name can help build your credit score. So that's what I've done, is that just made sure my top priority was never being late and always making a payment on time.
See, the only thing that gets me, like all intents and purposes, other than like my student loans, I don't have. I pay my rent and stuff's in my name when it comes to my apartment. My car, I don't have a payment for, just insurance, and then. But my medical bills, that's what got me. And I was like, oh, crap.
Medical bills don't affect your credit score.
They do when they go to collections and stuff that I didn't.
How many do you have in collections?
I think like one.
Then it's not that big of a deal.
But
And it falls off after 7 years.
Well, he didn't want to wait 7 years, though. I mean,
Right, but what I'm saying is, unless it's a $40,000
no,
medical bill.
I'm talking like $1,200. And I didn't even know because they had the wrong address and my insurance changed. So it was just and I was like, I can't pay this right out there, but I can clearly see how people could forget about a payment because it went to the mail was going to a different address. Everything was changed. So I'm like, I get on there and obviously this isn't even a humble brag, but when it was 703, I'm like, wow, I don't even remember what credit I had. And then anytime I did get dinged, I think it was because it went to collections. And so there was a thing on there that I didn't even remember. And I understand how people could fall into debt for something they can't control. Like if you get sick and you lose your job and you can't pay your bills, how are you supposed to get out of debt? Like that whole thing.
yes,
just
that's
scares
the whole
why
point
it
of
was
the
like-
broken American healthcare system.
That scares me.
That
It just scares
afternoon,
me.
when I raced unscheduled race to Michigan because my son had been in a bad snowboarding accident. This is a few months ago. He was in the hospital. He was in the ER, and they moved him in this other room, and they were just doing all these tests to make sure he didn't have an internal bleeding or blah, 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 or whatever. And he was lucid the whole time. But he wasn't even in the hospital for 24 hours. It was $38,000.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you haven't hit your deductible for the year,
When my
Or
eye,
if you
you're in,
even have
you're
I
in
don't even know
bad
how that
shape.
stuff
when
works.
my eye, the 2 days I spent in the hospital when my eye messed up a couple years ago, that was $90,000.
I just don't understand how anyone,
Nobody does. This is why people talk about the American healthcare system being broken.
And like I try not to complain because I really am blessed that I do get insurance through my morning job, and like I essentially consider it just the bare minimum. I don't think it's Obamacare. I think it's like one step above it. But I don't know how any of that stuff works. When people say, how much do you pay for a deductible? How much do you pay out of pocket? I'm like, I don't know.
It would be in
varies.
your best interest to learn what those things are, though.
That's just how white folks will do you.
Somebody said if you can test a medical bill, the credit bureau has to remove it.
If you can,
I
what do you
don't know
mean
if
if you
that's-
can test it?
If you call the credit bureau and say, hey, this medical bill is dinging my credit or whatever, and you go, this isn't my fault, blah, 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 this person says they have to remove it. Hey, Tim, I don't know if any of that's true.
I don't know.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, Timmy?
How are you? How is everyone?
You know what? We're hanging in, man.
Me too. I just have a comment about the car thing. I love cars. I've always been into cars. I've had, muscle cars and that kind of stuff. And then I got married and all that stuff went away, of course. But what do these people do for a living that they can make $1,500 car payments?
They all work at a car dealership.
I hope so. I mean, it's like a house payment. I don't understand that kind of money. I mean, I wish I could afford that. I'd love to buy a brand new Hellcat. I just can't justify that kind of payment.
Just do it, Tim.
Come on,
You
Tim.
worked hard. Treat yourself.
You only live one
Go get
time.
that Hellcat and burn rubber, baby.
Come on, man.
All right, I'm on
Now
my
with
way.
that attitude, you can't. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you, Tim. There's Tim out in Leary. Mike in Parma says, I might be giving those people way too much credit, but they might be speculating against the car market. Because, with shortages and things, you can do that now with dealerships because the inventory is so low. Like he said, when his lease was up, the buyout was around $30,000, but dealerships were offering him $35,000. So that is a bit of a deep dive into that market. But, I mean, shortages and inventory.
Oh, my buddy did that. He sold his truck and then got a new truck that, like, it was basically a wash, but he got a truck that was a year newer.
Yeah.
Like he
yeah, well, that's what we run commercials. They're like, we'll buy it right now. We'll give you twice what it's worth. And, because they don't have inventory.
Yeah.
But it would be, Poundcake, it would be in your best interest to understand the fundamentals of insurance.
Well, I asked my mom, but again, it's just my insurance is
just
wacky.
Start sending your insurance money to me. I'll take care of it.
That's right. We're going to
I'll
get
handle it for you.
This is going to what we Bill and I call the pre-conservatorship. We will ease you into that conservatorship like a bedtime in a warm blanket.
How about this? Just let me handle your banking information. Like, just give me power of attorney. We'll make it all great.
Yeah.
I'll take care of you.
There you go.
I don't trust you.
You don't trust Bill.
I don't trust him.
Why?
You don't trust me?
He's been nothing but nice to you. Now, me, you shouldn't trust. Bill, I'm the other half of what's going to be your conservatorship. I'm the one you should be worried about.
Don't worry, Poundcake. I won't let him take advantage of you.
There you go.
Good conservator, bad conservator.
Wink, wink. We're playing good conservator, bad conservator.
If you guys want to take on my problems, that's fine. You
That's
guys
right.
get blamed for everything.
That's right.
I'm gonna just start smearing
You
poop
never
on
saw
myself.
me coming, son. Me giving you a job was part of the long con.
Okay.
You're not going to have any poop to smear on yourself because
Not going to feed me? Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
You're incriminating yourself live on
You're
here?
going to be on a liquid diet.
I just want to make sure you don't have to pay Mary $500. So.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my gosh. Well,
We need a scale. I almost went and bought one today.
I have good news and bad news. The good news is...
No. That's called a tease.
Okay.
Let me take the break here because I'm late anyway. Then we'll get to your good news, bad news. All right. You want to text 35192. Listen anywhere you are on the iHeartRadio app.